Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatrubhyascha kripasindubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So welcome to our continued reading of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We may go a little bit longer this time because we want to finish up prayers to the personified Vedas. That's within our scope this evening. So first we'll sing our little song here. Krishna, 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 Hey, Krishna, 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 Hey, Krishna, 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 Rakshamam, Krishna, 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 Rakshamam, Krishna, 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 Pahimam, Krishna, 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 Pahimam, Rama, Raghava, Rama, Raghava, Rama, Raghava, Rakshamam, Rama, Raghava, Rama, Raghava, Rama, Raghava, Rakshamam, Krishna, Keshava, Krishna, Keshava, Krishna, Keshava, Pahimam, Krishna, Keshava, Krishna, Keshava, Na Keshava, Mimam, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Ma Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravadi Pacharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachade Sitarane Vanchakal Patrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. We're continuing our reading in the chapter 87 of Krishna book. This is Prayers to the Personified Vedas, and I mentioned earlier, we will finish this chapter today, do our best. Where we're at, it begins. Dear Lord, the Personified Vedas continues. That's where we left off. So we pick off there again. Dear Lord, the Personified Vedas continued. If saintly persons do not take care to eradicate completely the roots of sinful desires, they cannot experience the Supersoul, although he is sitting side by side with the individual soul. Samadhi, or meditation, means that one has to find the Supersoul within himself. One who is not free from sinful reactions cannot see the Supersoul. If a person has a jeweled locket in his necklace, but forgets the jewel, it is almost as though he does not possess it. Similarly, if an individual soul meditates but does not actually perceive the presence of the supersoul within himself, his meditation is useless. Persons who have taken to the path of self-realization must therefore be very careful to avoid contamination by the influence of Maya. Srila Rupa Goswami says that a devotee should be completely free from all sorts of material desires. A devotee should not be affected by the results of karma and jnana. One has to simply understand Krishna and carry out his desires. That is the pure devotional stage. The personified Vedas continue. Mystic yogis who still have contaminated desires for sense gratification are never successful in their attempt, nor can they realize the supersoul within the individual self. As such, the so-called yogis and jnanis who are simply wasting their time in different types of sense gratification, either by mental speculation or by exhibition of limited mystic powers, will never be liberated from conditioned life and will continue to go through repeated births and deaths. For such persons, both this life and the next life are sources of tribulation. Such sinful persons are already suffering tribulation in this life, and because they are not perfect in self-realization, they will be plagued with further tribulation in the next life. Despite all endeavors to attain perfection, such yogis contaminated by desires for sense gratification will continue to suffer in this life and the next. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks in this connection that if sannyasis, persons in the renounced order of life who have left their homes for self-realization, do not engage themselves in the devotional service of the Lord, but become attracted by philanthropic work, such as opening educational institutions, hospitals, or even monasteries, churches, or temples of demigods, they find only trouble from such engagements, not only in this life, but in the next. Sannyasis who do not take advantage of this life to realize Krishna simply waste their time and energy in activities outside the jurisdiction of the renounced order. A devotee's attempt to engage his energies in such activities as constructing a Vishnu temple, however, is never wasted. Such engagements are called Krishnarte Akila Cheshta, variegated activities performed to please Krishna. A philanthropist opening a school building and a devotee constructing a temple are not on the same level. Although a philanthropist's opening an educational institution may be pious activity, it comes under the law of karma, whereas constructing a temple for Vishnu is devotional service. Devotional service is never within the jurisdiction of the law of karma. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Sa gunan samiti chaitan Brahma Brahmacharya Kalpate. Devotees of the personality of Godhead transcend all the reactions of the three modes of material nature and are situated on the transcendental platform of Brahman realization. The devotees are liberated in both this life and the next. Any work done in this material world for Yajna, Vishnu, or Krishna is considered to be liberated work, but without connection with Achyuta, the infallible, supreme personality of Godhead, there is no possibility of stopping the resultant actions of the law of karma. The life of Krishna consciousness is the life of liberation. The conclusion is that a devotee, by the grace of the Lord, is liberated in both this life and the next, whereas karmis, jnanis, and yogis are never liberated either in this life or in the next. The personified Vedas continued. Dear Lord, anyone who, by your grace, has understood the glories of your lotus feet is callous to material happiness and distress. This is in quotation marks, and now the rest is Prabhupada's commentator. The material pangs are inevitable as long as we exist within the material world, but a devotee does not divert his attention to such actions and reactions, which are the results of pious and impious activities. Nor is a devotee very much disturbed or pleased by praise or condemnation from people in general. A devotee is sometimes greatly praised because of his transcendental activities, and sometimes he's criticized, even though there is no reason for adverse criticism. The pure devotee, however, is always callous to praise or condemnation by ordinary people. Actually, the devotee's activities are on the transcendental plane. He is not interested in the praise or condemnation of people engaged in material activities. If the devotee can thus maintain his transcendental position, his liberation in this life and the next is guaranteed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A devotee's transcendental position within this material world is maintained in the association of pure devotees, simply by his hearing the glorious activities enacted by the Lord in different ages and in different incarnations. The Krishna consciousness movement is based on this principle. Srila Narottama Das Thakur has sung, "My dear Lord, let me be engaged in your transcendental loving service as indicated by the previous acharyas, and let me live in the association of pure devotees. That is my desire, life after life." In other words, a devotee does not much care whether or not he is liberated. He is eager only for devotional service. Devotional service means that one does not do anything independently of the sanction of the acharyas. The actions of the Krishna consciousness movement are directed by the previous acharyas, headed by Srila Rupa Goswami. In the association of devotees, following these principles, the devotee is able to perfectly maintain his transcendental position. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that a devotee who knows him perfectly is very dear to him. Four kinds of pious men take to devotional service. If a pious man is distressed, he approaches the Lord for mitigation of his distress. If a pious man is in need of material help, he prays to the Lord for such help. If a pious man is actually inquisitive about the science of God, he approaches the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Similarly, a pious man who is simply eager to know the science of Krishna also approaches the Supreme Lord. Out of these four classes of men, the last is praised by Krishna himself in the Bhagavad Gita. A person who tries to understand Krishna with full knowledge and devotion by following in the footsteps of previous acharyas, conversant with scientific knowledge of the Supreme Lord, is praiseworthy. Such a devotee can understand that all conditions of life, favorable and unfavorable, are created by the supreme will of the Lord. And when he has fully surrendered unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, he does not care whether his condition of life is favorable or unfavorable. A devotee takes even an unfavorable condition to be the special favor of the Supreme, of the Personality of Godhead. Actually, there are no favorable conditions. Actually, there are no unfavorable conditions for a devotee. Knowing that everything is coming by the will of the Lord, he sees every condition as favorable. And in any condition of life, he is simply enthusiastic to discharge his devotional service. This devotional attitude is explained in the Bhagavad Gita. A devotee is never distressed in reverse conditions of life, nor is he overjoyed in favorable conditions. In the higher stages of devotional service, a devotee is not even concerned with the list of do's and do nots. Such a position can be maintained only by following in the footsteps of the acharyas. Because a pure devotee follows in the footsteps of the acharyas, any action he performs to discharge devotional service should be understood to be on the transcendental platform. Lord Krishna therefore instructs us that an acharya is above criticism. A neophyte devotee should not consider himself to be on the same plane as the acharya. It should be accepted that the acharyas are on the same platform as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and as such, neither Krishna nor his representative acharya should be subjected to any adverse criticism by the neophyte devotees. The personified Vedas thus worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead in different ways. Offering worship to the Supreme Lord by praying means remembering his transcendental qualities, pastimes, and activities. But the Lord's pastimes and qualities are unlimited. It is not possible for us to remember all the qualities of the Lord. Therefore, the personified Vedas worshipped to the best of their ability, and at the end, they spoke as follows. Dear Lord, although Lord Brahma, the predominating deity of the highest planet Brahmaloka, and King Indra, the predominating demigod of the heavenly planets, as well as the predominating deities of such planets as the sun and the moon, are all very confidential directors of this material world. They have very little knowledge about you. Then what can ordinary human beings and mental speculators know of you? It is not possible for anyone to enumerate the unlimited transcendental qualities of your lordship. No one, not even the mental speculators and the demigods in the higher planetary systems, is actually able to estimate the length and breadth of your form and characteristics. We think that even your lordship does not have complete knowledge of your transcendental qualities. The reason is that you are unlimited. Although it's not befitting to say that you do not know yourself, it is practical to understand that because you have unlimited qualities and energies, and because your knowledge is also unlimited, there is unlimited competition between your knowledge and your expansion of energies. And Prabhupada continues, the idea is that because God and his knowledge are both unlimited, as soon as God is cognizant of some of his energies, he perceives that he has still more energies. In this way, both his energies and his knowledge increase. Because both of them are unlimited, there is no end to the energies and no end to the knowledge with which to understand the energies. God is undoubtedly omniscient, but the personified Vedas say that even God himself does not know the full extent of his energies. This does not mean that God is not omniscient. When an actual fact is unknown to a certain person, this is called ignorance or lack of knowledge. This is not applicable to God, however, because he knows himself perfectly. But still, as his energies and activities increase, he also increases his knowledge to understand them. Both are increasing unlimitedly, and there is no end to it. In that sense, it can be said that even God himself does not know the limit of his energies and qualities. How God is unlimited in his expansion of energies and activities can be roughly calculated by any sane and sober living entity. It is said in the Vedic literature that innumerable universes issue forth when Mahavishnu exhales in his yoga nidra, and that innumerable universes enter his body when he inhales. We have to imagine that these universes, which according to our limited knowledge are expanded unlimitedly, are so great that the gross and subtle ingredients, the 5 elements of the cosmic manifestation, namely earth, water, fire, air, and sky, along with the total material energy and false ego, are not only within the universe, but cover the universe in 7 layers, each layer 10 times bigger than the previous one. In this way, each and every universe is very securely packed, and there are numberless universes. All these universes float within the innumerable pores of the transcendental body of Mahavishnu. It is stated that just as the atoms and particles of dust are floating within the air along with the birds, and their number cannot be calculated, so innumerable universes are floating within the pores of the transcendental body of the Lord. For this reason, the Vedas say that God is beyond the grasp of our knowledge. Avan Manasa Gochara. To understand the length and breadth of God is beyond the jurisdiction of our mental speculation. Therefore, a person who is actually learned and sane does not claim to be God, but tries to understand God, making distinctions between spirit and matter. By such careful discrimination, one can clearly understand that the Supreme Soul is transcendental to both the superior and inferior energies, although he has a direct connection with both. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna explains that although everything is resting on his energy, he is different or separate from the energy. Nature and the living entities are sometimes designated as Prakriti and Purusha, respectively. The whole cosmic manifestation is an amalgamation of Prakriti and Purusha. Nature is the ingredient cause, and the living entities are the effective cause. These two causes combine together, and the effect is this cosmic manifestation. When one is fortunate enough to come to the right conclusion about this cosmic manifestation and everything going on within it, he knows it to be caused directly and indirectly by the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. It is concluded in the Brahma Samhita, therefore, Ishvaraha Paramaha Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govindaha Sarvakarana Karanam. After much deliberation and consideration, when one has attained the perfection of knowledge, one comes to the conclusion that Krishna, or God, is the original cause of all causes. Instead of speculating about the measurement of God, whether he is so long or so wide, or falsely philosophizing, one should come to the conclusion of the Brahma Samhita. Krishna, or God, is Sarva Karana Karanam, the cause of all causes. That is the perfection of knowledge. Thus the Veda Stuti, or the prayers offered by the personified Vedas to Garbhodakshayi Vishnu, were first narrated in disciplic succession by Sanandana to his brothers, all of whom were born of Brahma at the beginning of the universe. The four Kumaras were the firstborn sons of Brahma. Therefore, they are known as Purvajata. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that the Parampara system, or the disciplic succession, begins with Krishna himself. Similarly, here, in the prayers of the personified Vedas, it is to be understood that the Parampara system begins with the personality of Godhead, Narayana Rishi. We should remember that this Veda Stuti is narrated by Kumar Sanandana, and the narration is repeated by Narayana Rishi in Badarikashrama. Narayana Rishi is the incarnation of Krishna for showing us the path of self-realization by undergoing severe austerities. In this age, Lord Chaitanya demonstrated the path of pure devotional service by putting himself in the role of a pure devotee. Similarly, in the past, Lord Narayana Rishi was an incarnation of Krishna who performed severe austerities in the Himalayan ranges. Sri Narada Muni was hearing from him. So in the statement given by Narayana Rishi to Narada Muni, as narrated by Kumar Sanandana in the form of the Veda Stuti, it is understood that God is the one supreme and that all others are his servants. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is stated, Ekale Ishwara Krishna. Krishna is the only supreme God. Arshabhrita. All others are his servants. Jare yache nache she taiche kare nritya. The Supreme Lord, as he desires, is engaging all the living entities in different activities, and thus they exhibit their different talents and tendencies. This Veda Stuti is thus the original instruction regarding the relationship existing between the living entity and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The highest platform of realization for the living entity is the attainment of devotional life. One cannot be engaged in devotional life or Krishna consciousness unless one is fully free from material contamination. Narayana Rishi informed Narada Muni that the essence of all the Vedas and Vedic literatures, namely the four Vedas, the Upanishads, the Puranas, and the Vedanta Sutras, is to render transcendental loving service to the Lord. In this connection, Narayana Rishi has used one particular word, rasa. In devotional service, this rasa is the medium or the basic principle for the exchange of dealings between the Lord and the living entity. Rasa is also described in the Vedas, raso vai saha. This in quotation marks translation. The Supreme Lord is the reservoir of all pleasures. All the Vedic literatures, including the Puranas, the Vedas, the Upanishads, and the Vedanta Sutra, teach the living entity how to attain the stage of rasa. The Bhagavatam also says that the statements in the Mahapurana, the Srimad Bhagavatam, constitute the essence, rasa, of all Vedic literatures. Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam. The Bhagavatam is the essence of the ripened fruit of the tree of the Vedic literature. We understand that with the breathing of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there issued forth the four Vedas, namely the Rig Veda, the Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, and the Atharva Veda, and also the histories like the Mahabharata and all the Puranas, which are considered to be the history of the world. The Vedic histories like the Puranas and the Mahabharata are called the fifth Veda. The 28 verses of the Veda Stuti are to be considered the essence of all Vedic knowledge. The four Kumaras and all other authorized sages know perfectly that that devotional service in Krishna consciousness is the essence of all Vedic literatures, and they preach this on different planets, traveling in outer space. It is stated herein that such sages, including Narada Muni, hardly ever travels on land. They perpetually travel in space. Sages like Narada and the Kumaras travel throughout the universe to educate the conditioned souls that their business in the world is not that of sense gratification, but of reinstating themselves in their original position of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is stated in several places that the living entities are like sparks of the fire, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is like the fire itself. If the sparks somehow or other fall out of the fire, they lose their natural illumination. Thus, it is ascertained that the living entities come into this material world exactly as sparks fall from a great fire. The living entities wants to imitate Krishna and tries to lord it over the material nature in order to enjoy sense gratification. Thus, he forgets his original position and his illuminating power. His spiritual identity is extinguished. However, if a living entity takes to Krishna consciousness, he is reinstated in his original position. To preach this process of devotional service, sages and saints like Narada and the Kumaras travel all over the universe, educating people and increasing their disciples. Their aim is that all the conditioned souls may be educated to revive their original consciousness or Krishna consciousness, and thus gain relief from the miserable condition of material life. Sri Narada Muni is a Naishtika Brahmachari. There are 4 types of brahmacharis. The first is called Savitra, which refers to a brahmachari who, after initiation and the sacred thread ceremony, must observe at least 3 days of celibacy. The next is called Prajapatya, which refers to a brahmachari who strictly observes celibacy for at least 1 year after initiation. The next is called Brahma Brahmacharya, which refers to a brahmachari who observes celibacy from the time of initiation up to the time of the completion of his study of the Vedic literature. The next stage is called Naishtika, which refers to a brahmachari who is celibate throughout his whole life. Out of these, the first 3 are upakurvana, which means that the brahmachari can marry later after the brahmachari period is over. The Naishtika brahmachari, however, is completely reluctant to have any sex life. Therefore, the Kumaras and Narada are known as Naishtika brahmacharis. Such brahmacharis are called Vira Vrata because their vow of celibacy is as heroic as the vows of the Kshatriyas. The brahmachari system of life is especially advantageous in that it increases the power of memory and determination. It is specifically mentioned in this connection that because Narada was a Naishtika brahmachari, he could remember whatever he heard from his spiritual master and would never forget it. One who can remember everything perpetually is called a Shruti Dara. a Shrutidhara Brahmachari can repeat verbatim all that he has heard without notes and without reference to books. The great sage Narada has this qualification, and therefore, having taken instructions from Narayana Rishi, he is engaged in propagating the philosophy of devotional service all over the world. Notice the present tense in the sentence, he is engaged. Because such great sages can remember everything, they are thoughtful, self-realized, and completely fixed in the service of the Lord. Thus, the great sage Narada, after hearing from his spiritual master Narayana Rishi, became completely realized. He became established in the truth, and he became so happy that he offered prayers to Narayana Rishi. Narada Muni addressed Narayana Rishi as an incarnation of Krishna and specifically addressed him as the supreme well-wisher of the conditioned souls. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that Lord Krishna descends in every millennium just to give protection to his devotees and to annihilate the non-devotees. Narayana Rishi, being an incarnation of Krishna, is also addressed as the well-wisher of the conditioned souls. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, everyone should know that there is no well-wisher like Krishna. Everyone should understand that Lord Krishna is the supreme well-wisher of everyone and should take shelter of him. In this way, one can become completely confident and satisfied, knowing that he has someone who is able to give him all protection. Krishna himself, his incarnations, and his plenary expansions are all supreme well-wishers of the conditioned souls, but Krishna is the well-wisher even of the demons, for he gave salvation to all the demons who came to kill him in Vrindavan. Therefore, Krishna's welfare activities are absolute. For whether he annihilates a demon or gives protection to a devotee, the result of his activities is one and the same. It is said that the demon Putana was elevated to the same position as that of Krishna's mother. When Krishna kills a demon, the demon is supremely benefited, as much as a pure devotee is benefited by always being protected by the Lord. Narada Muni, after offering respects to Narayana Rishi, his spiritual master, went to the ashram of Vyasadeva, his disciple. Being properly received by Vyasadeva in his ashram and seated very comfortably, Narada Muni narrated the entire story of what he had heard from Narayana Rishi. In this way, Shukadev Goswami informed Maharaj Parikshit of the answers to his questions regarding the essence of Vedic knowledge and what is considered to be the ultimate goal of the Vedas. The supreme goal of life is to achieve the transcendental blessings of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus become engaged in the loving service of the Lord. One should follow in the footsteps of Shukadev Goswami and all the other Vaishnavas in the disciplic succession, and should pay respectful obeisances unto Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari. The four sects, SECTS, the four sects of Vaishnava disciplic succession, namely the Madhva Sampradaya, the Ramanuja Sampradaya, the Vishnu Swami Sampradaya, and the Nimbarka Sampradaya, in pursuance of all Vedic conclusions, agree that one should surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Vedic literatures are divided into two parts, the Shrutis and the Smritris. The Shrutis are the four Vedas, Rik, Sama, Atharva, and Yajur, and the Upanishads and the Smritris are the Puranas and the Itihasas like the Mahabharata, which includes the Bhagavad Gita. The conclusion of all these is that one should know Sri Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the Parama Purusha, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead under whose superintendence material nature works. For creation, maintenance, and annihilation, the Supreme Lord incarnates into three, Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva, after manifesting the material cosmos. All of these take charge of the three qualities of material nature, but ultimate direction is in the hand of Lord Vishnu. The complete activities of material nature under the three modes are conducted under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, Mayadhyakshena, and in the Vedas, Sa Aikshata. The atheistic Sankhyaite philosophers will, of course, offer their arguments that the material cosmic manifestation is due to Prakriti and Purusha, material nature and the living entity, or the material cause and the effective cause. But Krishna is the cause of all causes. He is the cause of both the material and effective causes. Prakriti and Purusha are not the ultimate cause. Superficially, it appears that a child is born due to the combination of the father and mother. But the ultimate cause of both the father and the mother is Krishna. He is therefore the original cause, or the cause of all causes, as confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. Both the Supreme Lord and the living entities enter into the material nature. The Supreme Lord Krishna, by one of his plenary expansions, manifests as Karanodakshai Mahavishnu, the gigantic Vishnu form lying in the the gigantic Vishnu form lying in the causal ocean. Then from the gigantic form of Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshai Vishnu expands and enters into every universe. From him, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva expand. Vishnu, as Shirodakshai Vishnu, enters into the hearts of all living entities, as well as into all material elements, including the atom. The Brahma Samhita says, Andantarasta paramanu chayantarastam. The Lord is within this universe and also within every atom. The living entity has a small material body, taken in various species and forms. And similarly, the whole universe is but the material body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This body is described in the Shastras as Virat Rupa. As the living entity, individual living entity, maintains his particular body, the Supreme Personality of Godhead maintains the whole cosmic creation, entering within it. As soon as the individual living entity leaves the material body, the body is immediately annihilated. And similarly, as soon as Lord Vishnu leaves the cosmic manifestation, everything is annihilated. Therefore, only when the individual living entities surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is his liberation from material existence possible. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Mam eva ye prapadyante, mayam etam taranti te. Surrendering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, nothing else is therefore the cause of liberation. How the living entity becomes liberated from the modes of material nature after surrendering unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead is illustrated by the example of a sleeping man within a room. When a man is sleeping, everyone sees that he is present within the room, but actually, the man himself is not within that body. For while sleeping, a man forgets his bodily existence, although others may see that his body is present. Similarly, a liberated person engaged in devotional service to the Lord may be seen by others to be engaged in household duties of the material world. But since his consciousness is fixed in Krishna, he does not live within this world. His engagements are different, exactly as the sleeping man's engagements are different from his bodily engagements. It is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita that a devotee engaged full time in the transcendental loving service of the Lord has already surpassed the influence of the three modes of material nature. He is already situated on the Brahman platform and is in the transcendental realm, although he appears to be living within the body or within the material world. In this connection, Srila Rupa Goswami states in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that the person whose only desire is to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead may be situated in any condition in the material world, but he's to be understood as Jivan Mukta. That is to say, he is to be considered liberated while living within the body of the material, he is to be considered liberated while living within the body or the material world. The conclusion, therefore, is that a person fully engaged in Krishna consciousness is a liberated person. Such a person actually has nothing to do with his material body or the material world. Those who are not in Krishna consciousness are called karmis and jnanis, and they hover on the bodily and mentally platforms and thus are not liberated. This situation is called Kaivalya Nirasta Yoni. But a person situated on the transcendental platform is freed from the repetition of birth and death. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter. Simply by knowing the transcendental nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, one becomes free from the chains of the repetition of birth and death, and after quitting his present body, he goes back home, back to Godhead. This is the conclusion of all the Vedas. Thus, after understanding the prayers offered by the personified Vedas, one should surrender to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 87th chapter of Krishna, Prayers by the Personified Vedas.
Wow, we did it.
We got through. Very, very interesting.
Thank you so much for reading, and thank you all for joining us. I have to say, just personally, I think this was the most engaging, inspiring, illuminating reading of the prayers by the Personified Vedas that I've had so far. And I really appreciate that.
Hear,
Thank you so
hear.
much. Yeah.
I agree.
So please, anybody who's joining here, if you're welcome to use the chat box, or if you're on Facebook, use the chat box there. If you're on Zoom, you can also jump in with an audio question or reflection. We'd like to hear from you. I know we read a little bit longer tonight just to be able to finish the chapter, but we can go over a little bit in time as well.
Shraddha,
Yes.
should I read my own question?
Yeah. Why don't you go ahead and read your question? I think that's great.
Okay, I preambled it. I read it, sent it to you, and then I had a preamble for you, and then I put it in the chat box also. Okay, so my question is, I'm wondering about the nature of the bodies of Narada Muni and the other rishis. If I've ever learned this information, I've forgotten it. Is the travel of the rishis anything like our space travel minus the spaceship, where they're moving through space in their bodies as birds soar through the sky? Or is it like teleporting, except instead of materially disintegrating the gross physical body at point A and then reintegrating it at point B, the rishis' bodies are more subtle and they make a kind of mental transport. And so they don't require disintegration and reintegration. This is too much speculation, I suppose, but would you please comment?
Interesting.
Also, yeah.
I think it's up to Krishna how they do.
I'm just wondering if it's described anywhere.
How they able to do it. Well, sometimes, where's that example come from? Where now it's gone out of my head. Where sometimes saintly persons, they can just go from one place to, it's like a yoga city. You can go from one place to another without the intervening space. You can just,
Right.
you can make them, the two places, contiguous, and just step across them without having to travel that way, because you can control space and time, and somehow do these things. So they have these this kind of power to do that. So their travel is different from ours, because they can control to some extent material nature and bend it to their will.
Yeah. I think the Matrix tried to touch on that, but they never really explained it. It's like, that everything is going on in the mental platform and being
That's a
programmed.
kindergarten movie
I
for advanced transcendentalists.
My other question is when we talk about Krishna incarnating, I know that he's not incarnating, it's not flesh body, but what is the actual correct verb for what Krishna is doing when he incarnates or expands himself? What is the Sanskrit for that when he's expanding or incarnating?
Well, Prabhupada uses incarnation because it's the English word.
Mhm.
And in incarnation, that carne is flesh.
Right.
So it means you take a body of matter. But the body of advanced devotees, saintly persons, is pneumatikan soma. This is Greek. They have a spiritual body. That idea is there. It's a pneumatikan soma. They have spiritual bodies. So that's all. And also the Christian idea is there too. You have, I think in the Bible, is like the spiritual body is like the oak is to the acorn, so pure devotees, they have spiritual bodies, and they also have lots of yoga cities, so they can go under the ground, go in the sky, hang out in your earlobe or whatever. All these things are there.
is there a word though for the act of, like when Krishna has the quadruple, the act of, I mean, they're all eternal. So in one sense, it's not an act. It's not, it's just something that is. But I guess I'm just wondering, when it says Krishna expands himself into different personalities, I'm just wondering if there's a Sanskrit word for that act of expanding.
I can't remember a particular word for it.
Okay, thank you. I'll do some
I
homework
have
and
to think about it. Yeah,
Okay.
that doesn't occur to me right now.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. And thank you so much for reading it. It really, I echo Shraddha. It was just wonderful and got so much out of it and never nodded off once.
Good.
Hare Krishna.
It's a triumph.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna,
so much.
Gurudev, my obeisance. Thank you very
Hare
much.
Krishna.
I was also not nodding off, and I was noticing that towards the end of this reading tonight, the talk finally comes around to the essence of what Parikshit Maharaj was asking Shukadeva Goswami. I think the essence is how can you describe the Lord since he's transcendental? And
Mhm.
and it finally, Prabhupada comes out with several statements like God is beyond the grasp of our knowledge, and the Lord is, both of them meaning Krishna and knowledge about him are unlimited. There's no end to the energies and no end to the knowledge with which to understand the energies. And I was marveling at how the Vedic literature is so full of information about the Lord. There's so much information, practically unlimited, and still the purport is you can't really, it's beyond what the information that we have, which is in stark contrast to those who would say, just sort of offhandedly, oh, God is inconceivable, while not having information number one about him.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Prabhupada has said that people in the West heard that God is great, but they had no idea of how great he is. And so you begin to find out from, and also the other thing that we don't understand is how things are God's energies. And with those energies, he can turn spirit into matter and matter into spirit back and forth. So I think Prabhupada remarked that we have heard that God is great, but have no idea how great he is, what his capacities are.
And to add to that, or one aspect of that greatness is, which was highlighted here, was how Krishna is the supreme well-wisher of everyone.
Yeah.
I just really appreciated that as well. So oftentimes we hear about God and it's kind of in this we're bad, he's good sort of mood, a fearful mood, and Krishna's on our side. He's on everybody's side, just trying to bring us back into his association. And Tulsi Priya, go ahead.
Hi, Krishna. Yeah, when Gurudev was reading about that, Krishna expanding and not, his self-knowledge is in competition with his energies, and I was thinking how actually it's a real question, but I think I kind of have answered in my head, but I'd like to hear him. It's like, if I want to expand myself, whether by having a family or becoming rich or starting a business, that's expanding my energies. I have to take ingredients from the material energy and work them, to some way, either if it's to have a child, I need a husband. If I need if I want a business, you get the idea. But Krishna is expanding, but there's nothing but him. So he's expanding into himself. And whatever, I mean, it's not like he needs ingredients to expand, but even if he did, they're all within him. And so I'm thinking, how is he expanding when he's all there? I guess I've got it stuck in my head that you have to expand into space, and yet there's nothing but Krishna.
No, he just expands. Everything he does is his bliss increases, his joy increases, his knowledge increases. As his energies do different marvelous things, he enjoys them, and because you can see that basically what the Lord is doing is playing, and that's what he does. He has a very good time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Tulsi Priya. Any other questions or reflections?
One thing I was thinking when Gurudev, when you were reading about how part of Krishna's welfare activities includes killing demons. For Krishna, that's welfare activities. He's doing them a big favor, but it's not the kind of welfare work that is very popular in the material world. You can't go door to door collecting that kind of welfare. I'm sorry, that just gave me a laugh.
Well, Prabhupada says, one time Prabhupada said about Krishna's welfare activities, he said once, if you have to hate Krishna, because Krishna will come and kill you and then you'll be liberated. So even that's a welfare activity.
Interestingly, there's a self-help book written by a Taiwanese woman who's since passed away called Thick Face, Black Heart. And it's about, how to become ruthless in business. And she not just ruthless, but it's more subtle than that. But she interestingly wrote in it that she says, if you have to hate God, because by hating him, you will become purified. And she had a number of quotes in her book. She was a Catholic, but she had a number of quotes in her book from the Bhagavad Gita. I was so thrilled when I read that, because that was,
really?
How did she, she must have known something about Prabhupada, or, she was just more enlightened than most people, but it was really interesting to hear that when, read that.
Prabhupada said that if you have to hate Krishna, he'll come and kill you and you'll be liberated.
Yeah. I thought that even though Krishna is everyone's well-wisher, he's still our well-wisher, even though not so many of us are favorably disposed towards him, which is definitely a rare quality. Usually we're not well-wishing to people who don't like us.
Yes, he helps everyone one way or another. They gives people their freedom too, but still we're benefited by whatever he does.
Thank you. Any other questions or reflections before we wrap things up for the evening?
Then our next chapter will be what?
Then we have 3 more chapters in the Krishna book. And the next one is about Lord Shiva. And it is titled The Deliverance of Lord Shiva. I think that we'll probably have 5 to 6 more sessions on Krishna book, and then we'll actually complete the whole Krishna book as well.
Good.
Wow. Jai.
Which is pretty amazing. We started 2 years ago.
Yeah, at the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah. But then, just as a sneak peek, we will likely start on Sri Ishopanishad after Krishna book,
Woohoo!
just to whet everybody's appetite.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Okay.
Thank
All
you for
right.
participating.
Thank you all very much.
You can't believe he's trying to offer pranams. His right hand is in a sling.
My hand is in a sling. Yeah, I can't
Oh,
do
yeah.
it.
It's okay.
Well, the shoulder got broken.
Is it feeling better?
Yeah. I take Tylenol.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems to be healing. I saw the x-rays. It's starting to
Knit.
Cloudy,
put
but-
itself back together.
Yeah.
So I'm happy about that. It will
Sure.
work.
Thank you all
All
so
right.
much.
Thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Shri Krishna book ki jai.
Bye. Good day,
Stay safe,
Pizza.
everyone.
Hare
Hare
Bol.
Krishna.